All right, everyone, welcome back to episode 6 of the Ball.
Journey. Let's see what the South's going to be. We got a little surprise for everybody today. Peter, why don't you tell the folks at home who we got?
Today, we're going to be opening in our NFC South preview with the Atlanta Falcons, and here to represent his team, to stand by his team, that's been actually has one of my favorite running back rooms right now in all of the NFL. Representing his team today, an Atlanta Falcons stan, super fan, if you will. We have YouLoveNickTana in the booth today. Nick, hit us with it.
Yeah. Love the introduction, man. Thank you guys so much for having me. What's up, guys? My name is Nick Tana. Usually what I like to do is I do a few things. I love doing video game reviews and stuff like that. But in my off time, I am Atlanta Nick Tana, and I'm locked into the Atlanta Falcons, making sure that I have my chess pieces aligned, and we're making moves, baby. I'm excited to talk about the Falcons. I'm happy to be a part of episode 6 with you guys. So thank you for having me on. I seriously appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Truly.
100%. Anytime you guys need me to. Even if we're not talking about the Falcons, I'm here. 100%.
Right. Well, you know, we're going to hold you to that, Nick, because we are going to do a college football preview show. We might need you to come back and talk about your 2-time defending national champion, Georgia.
Them dogs.
The brightest spot in here.
We got the base coat, the white base coat.
He's amped.
Have you seen that?
That's right. So
undefeated.
So, Nick, typically what we do here is we go through schedules, but what we're looking for from you is I want your preview for us as a Falcons fan. Where, are we hoisting trophies? What are we doing this year as Falcons fans?
Okay. So I've been really sitting here thinking about this, and as of right now, the NFC South is probably one of the worst divisions in football. We don't have to sugarcoat it right now. We don't really have to sugarcoat it. Like, honestly, every team in the NFC South is on a down year. To not even start off with my team, like I consider the Panthers, they're in rebuilding mode 100%. Yes, they did sign a lot of big names like Adam Thielen. They also signed Miles Sanders himself, and a few other receivers to help out young quarterback Bryce Young. So which is like, it's very cool, but I still it's a rebuilding thing. And then you got to look at the Buccaneers. They're going from one of the best quarterbacks of all time, Tom Brady, to a Baker Mayfield, which not saying Baker Mayfield is the worst quarterback ever. I wouldn't really trust him with my team. I think he does indeed have dog in him. And I do think that's a real thing, a real stat. Having dog in you is a true attribute to the field.
Measurable. It is a measurable statistic.
How do they do that in the combine?
In the combine, you don't know if you have dog. It's how much you love. Like they literally will sit there and have interviews with some of these players, and they're like, we don't know if you love football enough. And there's been times where it's like, you're here, you have the talent, but do you blood, sweat, and tears, because there's people that get drafted in the first round that might not love football as much as the guy that gets drafted in the 7th round, and he working his tail off day in and day out. That's having that dog.
You get bonus points too, though, if you take a shit in the end zone. So there you go. You got that dog in you.
You got that
anyway. You got that log in you, actually.
Not anymore. Not anymore. So you don't think the Bucs are going to be good? You don't think the Panthers can be good?
No.
What about the hated rivals?
So just a little heads up for everybody that is listening. YouLoveNickTana is a big Saints hater. I've never liked the Saints. I will never like the Saints, and I despise anybody who likes the Saints.
Is it because Michael Thomas is so good?
No, Michael Thomas is actually very bad, and Damar Hamlin actually returned to the field before he returned to the field, and that's all I have to say.
That's true. That is true. Man literally died on the field, and Michael Thomas is still out, and he's been cleared to play.
Yeah,
Damar Hamlin.
Talking about
I will say this, though, just so everyone knows, we will be starting a P.O. box and an Amazon wish list so that people can send Nick Tana and Michael Thomas paraphernalia and jerseys.
Yeah.
If I get a Michael Thomas shirt, I will wear it one time.
Please send bobbleheads in bulk, please. We need a lot of those, please.
Just ruining the game room with all the Michael Thomas memorabilia. Great, fantastic.
There you go.
But to kind of like talk about the Saints, a lot of people are favoring the Saints to take over this division, and honestly, I just don't really see it. And that's not me being like a big hater or anything. Like, okay, you went from who was their quarterback, Hill or Jameis Winston, and you get Carr.
Disrespectful. That's the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard. How dare you not include Andy Dalton in that list? How dare you?
My fault. Hey, my fault. That's about as much as I really care, man.
Actually, here's a fun stat. Tommy, what was that trivia question you gave me last week about one of these quarterbacks?
Nick Tana, can you tell me which quarterback since I want to say it was 2005? I think that's the year. Don't quote me on it. But which quarterback in the last 15 years has the most fourth quarter come from behind victories in the National Football League?
It'd be Jameis Winston, right?
It's Derek Carr, your Lord and Savior.
Derek Carr slander is unbelievable.
I can't believe it.
It's hard to. Okay, I don't like to slander Derek Carr because I think he's very passionate about the game. It's something about me that, like, you could tell what players do care and they are passionate about what they do.
He does seem like a player that cares.
And a lot of people do. A lot of people do doubt the man, and I think he's like right there in the middle, right? And the Raiders were just not really sitting there for right there in the middle. But then I don't know what they're doing because they picked up Garoppolo. But I mean, like, that's for another day, I guess. But Derek Carr, he's not a bad guy, not a bad quarterback. I respect it. But like MT, where's he been at? I know the Alvin Kamara stuff has been going on. It's like, what's going to be with him? Is he going to be in the room? Is he going to be taking handoffs? Like, we really don't know what they're working on. And the Saints have always been very trouble with their salary cap and being able to sign these big name guys that they just can't really afford to bring in anybody. So at this point, they're just losing guys. So, I mean, like, I feel like when I look at the Saints, I just don't really see anybody that like sticks out to me to where it's like they're just the clear winner in the South, if you know what I mean. How do you like? Am I crazy for thinking that, or do I sound like a true hater?
So we've gone through now that you've got the other three teams,
right?
That you're not impressed with.
Yeah.
Now, come on, give me the good stuff. What are we doing with the Falcons this year? This is your ride or die, man. Come on, let's go.
Listen, I feel like I owe the people a little bit of justice, and I should say at least a few positives with the Saints. Just because I don't like Michael Thomas, I am a big Chris Olave fan. I do like their tight end, Juwan Johnson. They do have some pieces on there that I feel like could make a big step into next year. Tyrann Mathieu, he's always been a Louisiana boy, so going back to his hometown and playing with them. You know what I'm saying? They got I like their defense better than their offense, if we're being honest. But I just look at that and I'm just like, okay, whoop-dee, right? But to kick it off with my Atlanta Falcons, I think we have something to prove this year. And I think a lot of people just aren't giving us credit due for the fact, and let's be honest, we are unsure about Desmond Ridder. Now, me watching Desmond Ridder play the last few games of the season, I think he did a remarkable job in the games that he had to play. Every game, he got progressively better and better and better to where they showed to the GM, to the head coach, to everybody like, yo, this is my job. And they decided we're going to rock with Ridder this year. Now, I mean, you could say like, okay, he's fighting with a job with Taylor Heineke, but I think the clear winner right now is Ridder. But you do sign Heineke to kind of like have that
just
backup.
In case, sure.
Yeah, just in case.
Quite a bit of starting experience there. So a nice addition to have for their.
I don't dislike Heineke either. I don't think he's the worst quarterback on the field right now.
What he did last year with the Commanders and they finished 500. I didn't think they had a 500 football team, so I thought he was very good.
I'm pretty sure it was him that gave the Eagles their first loss when they were undefeated.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the chips are all in with Ridder. You're betting the farm on him.
Yes,
but don't get it twisted. I think you could put Heineke in there and have just as good a shot right now.
100%. Yeah, I want them to compete and I want them to fight for the job. Like giving Ridder something to fight for instead of just being like, "Hey, man, you took over these last 5 games. You did a great job." But I would really love for him to like have to feel like he has to compete for the spot. That's how you get better. I make Ridder not feel comfortable that he has the job 100%. And then like to kind of finish off the offense is just young and it's stacked. A lot of people might not know this, but the Atlanta Falcons have a top 10 offensive line. You got Chris Lindstorm, all-pro guard right there. You got Caleb McGarry, just got signed to a big deal. We went to the draft, second round, drafting young Matthew Bergeron. I think it's Bergeron. Sorry about that.
All right.
Drafted him in the second round. You know, he's going to fill a much-needed guard spot we've always had trouble with on the other side. Jake Matthews protecting. I love our line. Love our line. And then you got Drake London, which could go nowhere but up. He had over 1,000 yards last year, and I think he's on track to have another great year. Him, Pitts, and Bijan Robinson is going to be like the 3-headed monster. Like, I can't name another young elite offense like that. And I just truly think that all those guys have so much potential that like their ceiling is so freaking high. Like you just have nothing but high hopes. Like Bijan Robinson is more than just a running back. Dude's just a straight out like athlete.
Dude, and look at the backups. It's not like Tyler Algier is not good. It's not like these are throwaway players. Cordell Patterson. It's not like
yards last year.
Yeah, he was a rookie last year, right? And had 1,000 yards.
As a rookie.
And then you have Cordell Patterson, who's going to be nothing but leadership for those two guys. And then that guy, I mean, Patterson's going to be this guy that's like you can kind of plug and play him wherever. Like he's going to be this super flex, like for whatever plays that they're doing. He's like he can kind of fit in anywhere. I feel like I think they're going to have a really, really strong running back room, and it's going to be like their running game should be, hopefully, you know, if all cylinders are firing, it's going to be really, really cool and really fun to watch. And from a fantasy perspective, if you're not targeting at least one or two players from this roster, I think that'd be a mistake.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Nick, bottom line, what's the Falcons' record at the end of the year? Are we hoisting the Lombardi? Where do you see the Falcons play this whole season playing out? How are they going to finish?
So I'm looking at the regular season right now. I'm looking at some of the games we have. I feel like Carolina,
winnable.
First game against Carolina, I feel like that could be a possible win. Bryce Young's first game, we don't know how he's going to act. But I feel like with our defense, all the signings we made, we could rattle them up a little bit. And with the signing of Jeff Okudah, Jesse Bates, a few other corners like Trey Flowers, I'm hoping they can fill those roles and kind of clamp up some of those receivers they have. So I'm very prominent about that. Going against Green Bay, I always like Green Bay as a team. I don't not like to doubt them out. I mean, like progressive, like I feel like they gotten worse. I mean, they lost Aaron. They lost a few of the receivers, and
it's a big question mark in Green Bay, I think. Sure.
Yeah, but they do still have those two young guys, Dobbs, and they also have Christian Watson, very good guys. I'm a Jordan Love guy. I think he could compete. I think he has it in him, and he's had enough time to be able to make an impact. So I think the Falcons could lose that game for sure. Going up against Detroit, another game that seems very iffy. It's at Detroit. Detroit always has a good team. They finished off the end of the season strong.
I have that as a loss for the Falcons.
Okay, I can see it. I can see it.
Hard to go into the D, man.
It's hard, man. Yeah. Like you're looking at this and you're already thinking like 1-2, and you got going up against Jacksonville, you're going up against Trevor Lawrence, playoff team coming back against the Chargers, winning that game. That's a tough loss right there too.
I don't think it's the hardest schedule though. Of all the
it's a very hard schedule.
Just to put this in perspective, like, you know, well, I mean, we can go through every game and say win, loss, win, loss. ESPN has the Falcons favored in 9 games. That would put them at 9-8, right? That's
potential playoffs.
Substantially better than they were last year. They were 7-10 last year.
The Falcons have like the longest streak of non-winning seasons in like NFL history or something. We always finish like 7-9, 6-10.
Except for the year y'all went to the Super Bowl with Matt Ryan. You guys were what, 13-3 that year?
That was like the little streak we had to where we had the Super Bowl run, and then next year we upsetted the Rams because everybody thought the Rams, they were favored by a lot. They were a young team. They played good. They were like the 3rd seed, came in, upset them, went to go play the Eagles. And that's when Nick Foles had his crazy run. They won the Super Bowl, which I'm all for it, man. If I lose to a team that wins the lose to a team in the playoffs that wins the Super Bowl, like it is what it is, man. You just got to dust your hands off, be like, hey, that was in the writing. Like if that happens to my team, just looking at it, bro, I just feel like we do have a very favorable chance to win the division. I think the schedule is very tough. But like I look at a lot of these games as like very winnable. Like, and that's just me being a fan, I think too. Like I look at these games and be like, why wouldn't we win against Houston or maybe like a Minnesota or an Arizona? I
think that'd be a massive win if you guys won at Minnesota.
You know what I'm saying? Like Indianapolis, that's a tough game. Why not beat Chicago? Like I feel like those are games that are very, very winnable. If we can win against the Saints too, I think that would be huge as well. I just don't see us losing a lot of games. Like the first few, you're going up against teams that were, if not in the hunt for the playoffs or in the playoffs, like Green Bay, Detroit, Jacksonville. And then I feel like the schedule gets a little bit easier from there. And then you got to go play Aaron Rodgers in New York. Who knows?
How many wins? Do you see him in double-digit wins?
Double-digit wins? I feel like they could beat like Tampa Bay twice. I feel like they could beat New Orleans. I feel like they could beat New Orleans once. I feel like they could split with the Panthers too. So like I feel like right there's 4. I could see them very close to double digits. If not 10, like the lowest, like 10. That's me very, very reasonable.
And that'd be a significant improvement. And you know, assuming everybody else stays on par with what they did last year, that would win you the division. So that'd be pretty good. But then you get to the playoffs, and who knows what happens, you know? Especially if you get to host one, people got to come to Atlanta.
That's what I'm saying.
We talking about Bijan Rookie of the Year? Is that lock? Should we lock it up?
I think Bijan is like one of the clear runners for Rookie of the Year. I just feel like you can't doubt him out at all.
So you've already put the $50 to Vegas. Called your guy. $50 on Bijan.
Yeah, I think he's remarkably one of the best rookies. Nothing against the other 2 quarterbacks. Like I'm a CJ Stroud guy over a Bryce Young dude. And I've always felt like that even before he got drafted to the Panthers. I just like CJ Stroud a little bit better, like his game. But I still feel like Bijan in that offense with that line and the things he could do and the way they have him lined up at receiver, running back, they're going to use him. And how do you cover all those guys on the field?
Yeah, they've certainly given Ritter enough ammo. We'll see if he can pull the trigger the right way.
A lot of it's on Ritter too. Yeah.
And then I didn't even bring it up, but a lot of in free agency too. A lot of the signings on the defensive side of the ball, we signed a lot of people: Jesse Bates, Calais Campbell, Caden Ellis, David Amignana, Mike Hughes, Bud Dupree. Like, these guys aren't like, okay, yeah, they're gonna be complete game changers, but you're filling in spots that, like, they're gonna be. It'll be doable. They'll be better than who was ever in that spot last year. It's an improvement. It's something to hold up, to let the offense shine. I feel like.
So Nick has already scheduled his Super Bowl champion tattoo for February of next year for the Falcons.
Yeah.
You got your replica ring on lockdown. You getting ready?
Yeah, it's gonna be next to my Super Bowl 51 ring for sure.
Ooh.
So
I was gonna bring that up. That's okay.
So improvement from last year, close to double-digit wins, maybe that 9-win category somewhere in there, and then first or second in the division. Is that kind of the predictions from what I'm hearing?
That's a tame prediction. That's tame.
I don't like to make the crazy bold predictions. I like to I like to be a realist with my team, bro. Because I really in my head, I would love to tell you guys, bro. Like, if this wasn't like a recording, I'd love to say, bro, we'd be 17-0. That's just the fan in me too. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of record, so
I know that's what I'm saying.
Well, it's okay. When we do the college football one, he'll go nuts. He'll go nuts in the college.
We got the base coat. We got the white base coat going.
Jesus.
I too have the Falcons in the 8 to 9 wins. I don't have them last in the division at all. I actually have them in the top 2. Again, the running back room for me is very exciting, and from a fantasy perspective, I will be targeting that running back room in some form. That's where I have them as well.
Yeah. I've got Falcons finished 7-10 last year. I think that the additions they've made, Taylor Heineke, big. I think that's going to be a big pickup for them. I foresee him probably starting 6 games this year, roughly, for them, because I just think Ritter. It's his second year. I think he's going to have games where he struggles and he's still learning, and I think that might be a spot for Heineke. They also got Jonnu Smith, tight end. I think that's a nice pickup.
Right. Nobody likes to bring that up too. Like, that's somebody that could come in.
I just brought it up. I literally.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, but you didn't like it. Like, you didn't like it.
I didn't like the way you brought it up.
I was talking about him as a key addition to the Falcons roster. I was being positive about it. Come on, man. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to
lost Mariota, so it's game over.
Well, yeah, you lose a guy like Mariota.
We're good.
There's a Zen factor. So Jonnu Smith, I think he's a nice little safety blanket that they really didn't have last year. You think about Drake London, he's a jump ball guy, down the field guy. Pitts, a lot of the same, like he's the seam guy. He's a deep threat. Patterson, yeah, you can dump the ball off to him, but he's not always in the game. I think Jonnu Smith provides that security blanket potentially for Ritter that can help him stay grounded. The defense additions, the 3 big ones, Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, and Jeff Okudah, I think those were phenomenal pickups. I think they're going to make an impact at all 3 levels of the defense right off the bat. And I think that's going to be a big reason why the Falcons improved this year. Rookie watch, it's pretty simple. Run, Bijan, run. They're going to go. They're going to be as good offensively as their running back room is. And I think all the spotlight is on Bijan. I'm not quite as high on Bijan in terms of a fantasy perspective as some people, because that's a very crowded running back room, right? Bijan Robinson is an incredibly talented running back. No one is questioning that. But Tyler Allgeier's a 1,000-yard rusher from last year. Cordell Patterson's a workhorse. They have options. And I think the reason they went out and got options is their head coach used to be the offensive coordinator at Baltimore, as some people will know. When Lamar Jackson won the MVP, that was his coach. And what did Baltimore do the best in the league that year? They ran the football. This guy wants to run the football, control the clock. That's going to take pressure off their defense and off their offensive line and off of Ritter if they can do that effectively. And I think the Falcons go as far as their run game can take them. I've got them at either 9-8 or 10-7 in that area.
ESPN has a favor on double digits. I couldn't do it.
It's going to be a toss-up on a couple games. They're favored in 9 games by ESPN. So that's right where ESPN thinks they're going to be. But here's my little nugget on the Falcons that you guys might not know. Young-Ho Koo's job is not 100% locked up. They do have a second place kicker on the roster.
Why?
That's right. Matthew Trickett out of Minnesota is on their roster, so they do have competition. Yeah, Trickett's going to kick it. I'll tell you that much.
Can we snap back into reality? I don't think there's a day that Young-Ho Koo loses his job, to be honest.
I'm just throwing it out there. They've brought in a kicker, a rookie.
It's not like he's bad. He's not playing bad.
I don't know. They brought him. They brought in the rookie kicker, not me. Why would they go get a rookie kicker if they were happy?
I'm gonna write a strongly worded letter. Is what I'm gonna do.
I'll tweet about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tweet right at him.
I'm just saying. I like to throw little nuggets like that in. Just keep you on your toes, there, guys.
Well, that's all I had for the Falcons. Nick, anything to cap it off there?
No, not really. I'm excited for the season. I can't wait to watch all the games and see what we do, man. I'm ready for some Ritter action. I'm ready to see the young offensive team, pick up and see what they could do on the field. And I feel like this is a roster I look at and say we've gotten better.
Yes,
gotten better.
I agree.
We look great on paper. It's all about seeing what we could do with that. I think the opportunity is there to snatch up the division. So all I gotta say is just why not us, man? Why not us?
There you go.
Support it. Well, thank you for being here again, Nick. Let everyone know where they can find you. And again, this is a bit of a test run as far as bringing folks on. So I appreciate you being here and thank you for the time. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you guys for having me on. Like I said, my name is Nick Tana. You guys can find me on all socials at YouLoveNickTana. I'm mainly on Twitter. I love talking about the Atlanta Falcons on there, which the Atlanta Falcons do follow me on Twitter. So a little big flex right there.
Wait, do they really?
Yeah.
That's sick.
That's a big flex.
He said, yeah, like, why are you surprised? Like,
yeah, why are you surprised?
Why wouldn't they follow their number one?
But anyway, go ahead, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
I want to explain why they do. So it was like a fun story. We went to the preseason game in Detroit, and I remember adding him and just taking a picture with Will and like my brother and all them. And I was like, took my son to his first football game. And thank God we got a win. And after that, they liked it. They sent me like a heart or something. They followed me. And I was like, this is tough.
So they follow Will.
They follow Big Will. They did that for Big Will.
Oh, okay. So Will got you. You're in. Okay, I see how you're doing. Okay.
But yeah, make sure you guys check me out at YouLoveNickTana, where you guys can catch all the greatest and latest Atlanta Falcon takes. Also, if you guys want to check me out on any other socials and stuff like that, like I said, just YouLoveNickTana, especially on YouTube. If you like gaming, if you want to see the Atlanta Falcon stuff, go to Atlanta Nick Tana. Again, thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, man.
Be safe. Tell us when you love them. And yeah, I'm out of here.
All right, dude. Catch you.
Later.
See you, Nick. Thanks for coming.
No problem.
All right, we're immediately gonna pivot. Yeah, that was great. That was perfect. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to when we actually have like it's like designated reporters. When they pan to each stadium during the season, and they have like a dedicated.
We're gonna get some folks that are down to make some outlandish claims. Though Nick kept it pretty tame.
He did.
We want to see what the heartbeat of these fandoms is actually at. Thanks, Nick, for coming on. That was great. He had great insight. He gave us breakdowns of dang near everybody in this division, but we're going to trudge along, and we're going to pivot from the Falcons. We're going to go to North Florida, to Tampa.
That's actually who I had in the next slot. So
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the reins on this one. Well. What can you say about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Well, from Brady to Baker, that's the transition. The GOAT to who knows? Here we go.
The throat. All right, Baker Mayfield. Here we go. I just looked for the first word that rhymed. That's really all.
Yeah. There you go. Welcome to the ball bag. That's the biggest thing that's going on right now in Tampa. When you have to replace the greatest of all time. I didn't call Nick on this. He said one of the best quarterbacks. No, that's the best one. Statistically, there you go. But yeah, you have to go from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. Look, Baker's a capable young quarterback, but we've seen him crash and burn before. When you say he got that dog in him, he probably got it in Cleveland and he might have left it there. So who knows how that's going to go. Their running back room, they lost a couple big running backs, right? Playoff Lenny, he's a free agent still. Ronald Jones, he's on the Cowboys. They've replaced those two running backs with Chase Edmonds out of Denver. I think that's a drop-off. I think their running back room's a little sparse right now. They did pick up a couple moderate pieces on defense. I think their best pickup on defense is Ryan Neal. It's a safety that comes over from Seattle. He's kind of a hybrid slot corner / safety. Very good young player. But like I said, they lost two running backs, veteran experienced running backs from their running back room. Tampa Bay might be one of those teams looking at some of the free agent running backs that are out there. And then, obviously, I already said it, Brady leaving. My rookie spotlight, this is the rookie name team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got two of the best named rookies in the NFL. Both of them are linebackers. The first one, Servassier Dennis. Yes, Sir, S-I-R, Vossier, V-O-C-E-A. Servassier Dennis, linebacker out of Pittsburgh. And his cohort and partner in crime, third-round draft pick, Yaya Diaby, spelled Y-A-Y-A, Yaya Diaby, linebacker out of Louisville. Truly two of the best-named rookies in the NFL. Last year, they went 8-9. They won the division at 8-9. Fun fact about the NFC South, they were the only division in football to have losing records across the board. They were the epitome of subpar.
No one was in a winning record last year.
Yes, the NFC South was the NFC West of like 5 or 6 years ago when the Seahawks won it at 7-9. That's what the NFC South was last year. So if they have a couple teams with a winning record, all of a sudden this division's exponentially better. Unfortunately for the Buccaneers, there's probably going to be a little bit of a drop-off. ESPN has them favored in one game all year, and 2 games don't have lines up yet. The only game they're favored in is a home game against Carolina. That is it. I think they'll be a little better than that. One game. I think they'll be a little better than that. I got them at 3-14 or 4-13. I think it's going to be a long year for Tampa Bay.
I agree.
I think they are in the fighting for the number 1 pick. I think they're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and that's unfortunate for Bucs fans. But hey, you got a nice little run with Tom Brady. You got yourself a Super Bowl. Just appreciate it for what it was.
Is it
a nice
the Texans
little 4-year.
that they're favored in?
No, the only game they're favored in is Carolina at home. 2 games that don't have lines up yet are the Titans and at Carolina. So they are actually, the Texans are favored right now over the Bucs this year by 1 point.
But it's not like their defense is worse.
I mean, they didn't add a lot, right? Yeah. Baker, Chase Edmonds. I mean, Chase Edmonds is an RB2 if it's a good year for Chase Edmonds in fantasy, and Ryan Neal. Those 3 were the top 3 highlighted ads to the Bucs.
I'll say their running back room is one of the least exciting for me from a fantasy
I mean, if I'm the Bucs, I'm calling Zeke, I'm calling Dalvin Cook, I'm calling Leonard Fournette, trying to get him back. I'm trying to get any running back that I can, and that's on the free agent market right now, because there's good ones there.
Their wide receiver room is so great, though. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage.
But Baker's throwing them the ball.
I know. It's just
it's not Brady
it's just
anymore.
Like a bummer. It's just a bummer that there's the talent's there, but like
with all due respect to Baker Mayfield, he did a pretty good job with the Rams last year coming in after Stafford got hurt, and he was serviceable. But he is not an elite quarterback.
No. Would you say he's just a serviceable quarterback, just kind of across the board?
Unless he can go back, here's the problem. Baker's in an offense right now that, with all due respect to the Bucs, they don't appear to have a running game. And unless they prove that wrong, I mean, they lost Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. Those are 2 pretty good running backs, right? And unless they can find a way to run the football, I don't know. I don't think Baker's going to win them a lot of games throwing the football. I just don't see it.
Yeah, there's just a lot of what ifs. I'm not like, I'm just looking at the depth chart for them, and I'm just not super excited outside of their wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. It's the quarterback position. It's the same thing that we were talking about with I believe the Commanders. We were having the same concerns. It's just like, yeah, there's talent there, there's good players there, but who's at the helm? And it's just not. It doesn't make me feel good. I'm not comfortable. You know what I mean?
Let me
I have them in the bottom 2 of the division. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me put it this way. If I'm teams that are playoff fringe teams that are like, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver room is the prime candidate to be the subject of a midseason trade, similar to the way Christian McCaffrey was traded. I think what the Panthers did is they were like, we ain't gonna make the playoffs this year. Let's cut some cap and reset. And they traded and got a haul back from the Niners. It worked out for both, right? The Panthers ended up getting the number 1 pick, getting the Heisman Trophy winner. The Niners got a bell cow in Christian McCaffrey. But I think it could be the same way with a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin. These receivers who are making a lot of money.
Yep.
And if you're sitting there at 1-5, do you try to reset, see if you can go get a QB in the draft early and rebuild your team with a lower salary cap next year? Or do you try and trudge away, especially if the Saints and the Falcons start hot and you're like, wow, we're 5 games back, 7 games into the season. I don't see it. You know what I mean? So I think, and there's going to be teams that need wide receiver help, right? There's going to be injuries. There's going to be good teams with quarterbacks that need wide receivers. Off the top of my head, the New York Jets come to mind. Right now, they have some good wide receivers. Don't get me wrong, but if they want to take that next step up in their division, if this situation plays out the way I think it might, you take Chris Godwin or Mike Evans and throw them into Aaron Rodgers' receiver core, and all of a sudden the Jets become the clear-cut favorite, I think, or at least
a step
up there with Miami and Buffalo in their division. So I just off the top of my head, I think that's a possibility. I don't know if it'll happen. It's just kind of a feeling. I think the Bucs are going to be sellers halfway through the season, and we could end up with a big shift like we saw last year with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, I don't have Tampa winning a whole lot of games this year. I think I'm still here.
Hello?
I was muted. All right. That was an accident. My right control button mutes it. I don't even know how I hit it. That makes a lot of sense.
That's one for the editor.
Things, and I thought, I thought you said, yeah, I'm not interested.
Nope, it's one for the editor. The editor will figure that out.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't think you're far off with that. I think they have a lot of capital in Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They could send those guys just about anywhere. I was saying that Tennessee is in need of a wide receiver 1, in my opinion.
Yeah, but are they going to be in contention?
Oh, I don't know. I was just looking at the depth charts.
I'm thinking about playoff teams that are trying to make a put. Like last year, the Niners were trying to go win a Super Bowl, right? That's why they went and got Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. They were going all in, right? So the teams I'm thinking about, like the Jets are clearly all in. Yeah. They're trying to go win a Super Bowl. Like who else that needs wide receiver help is all in? The Cowboys, maybe? Maybe the Cowboys are in that group. I don't know. But if you think about some of the other teams, the Niners even, I don't know if they have enough draft capital to trade for it, but they might want to go get a big play receiver. I don't think the Seahawks need it. I don't think they're also in that contention. But
I think Mike Evans could go just about anywhere. Chris Godwin's not quite at Mike Evans' level, but he definitely could go just about anywhere.
I think Mike Evans is probably the one on the trading block potentially. But
yeah, but have you looked at the backups though? Like
It doesn't matter.
It's like a rebuilding year, straight up.
That's what
up.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think the Bucks are going to be very good. I think that they are going to be fighting for last place in this division, and I think that they are going to be sellers if they have the same mindset as Carolina.
Yeah, they went 8-9 last year. I don't think they improved
with
from that.
Brady.
I don't think. Brady. Yeah, I do not think they improved for that. I have them closer to 6 wins. Baker's like a bridge quarterback. He's not. It's not like the long-term play. It's I don't know. I have very little faith. I actually have them going last in this division this year. Yeah, there's not much to say, honestly. I'm just looking at. I'll say from a fantasy perspective, looking at the depth charts here, I'm just not too excited about too much. And people are like, yeah, well, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, yeah, but like you had said, look who's throwing him the ball. You need to keep that in mind.
Listen, if you can get Mike Evans in the 5th round, you take Mike Evans in the 5th round.
Sure.
But are you going to take Mike Evans in the 2nd round?
No, I'm not.
I wouldn't.
No, I'm not taking Chase Edmonds and below. Rashad White. I don't know. Yeah. I'm too nervous about it. I'm definitely not taking Baker. So Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, maybe as a second pick from this team. But yeah, I think they're going to struggle this year. I agree. They're definitely not going to be double-digit wins. I have them closer to about 6 wins this year.
I see. Yeah, you're even higher than I am. I'm at 3 or 4 wins this year. So
yeah, I think their defense is decent. I think their defense hasn't gone completely away. I know Devin White's having some issues with the team itself. I don't think their defense is. I think their defense will give them at least 1 to 2 extra wins.
Richard Sherman retired on him. Yep. On them, they have like 2 or 3 guys that were veterans on there like last year, and as soon as Brady left, they went to the Ndamukong Suh, Richard Sherman, like a couple guys that on the surface, well, yeah, they're just role players. But those guys that are veterans that are willing to sign for vet min or low dollar for a 1-year deal to try and chase a ring aren't going to refill at Tampa. They're not sitting there going, yeah, let's go to Tampa. They're like, let's go to Kansas City or Philadelphia or Buffalo. Sure. You know what I mean? So that Brady appeal that they had, which helped them get free agents for less money, is gone.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they just need to rebuild.
Yeah. So I have them at 6 wins. Nothing more than that. Nothing more to report. I don't think they're particularly exciting, and I'll probably stay away from them from a fantasy.
So you got them last place in the division at 6 wins.
I do.
So you're high on the NFC South this year.
No. 6 wins is not that many wins.
Well, I mean, but to consider that 3 of the 4 teams in this division finished 7-10 last year, like that's. You're not seeing a huge drop off then from this division from what they were last year. You're high on this division.
I think the Falcons go forward. I think the other 2 teams that we're going to look at go forward. I say forward, not leaps and bounds forward. I just say forward.
Okay.
So
all right. Well,
I have Tampa Bay
last
again. 6 is a positive number.
I got 3. I got 3 or 4. So I'm a little more pessimistic. We'll move on to the next one of those teams, the Panthers. Tell me about it. Tell me about how high you are on the Carolina Panthers.
Higher than the Bucks, for sure. Lower than the Saints, for sure. If the Falcons can get their bags packed and everything situated, I do have the Falcons ahead of the Panthers, but I don't think the Panthers finish in last place. Bryce Young, obviously being I think the most notable addition. Miles Sanders shortly after that. Adam Thielen's been featured. He wasn't a wide receiver 1 where he came from. I don't think that makes him a necessary, like. I don't think that's like a huge. I think it's a boost. I don't think it's a huge boost. DJ Shark is there. Terrence Marshall's there. Hayden Hurst coming over is a big deal, but again, he's coming from Cincinnati, so Burrow makes a difference clearly. So they have these kind of like fun pieces that they've included. They're like proven players that have come in and they put on, but a lot of it comes back to Bryce Young. So I don't know. I'm a little bitter about their defense because that's part of the defense that lost me the semifinals last year in fantasy. So I'm a little bitter. I don't know too much about their defense, but it's like
I can tell you something about their defense.
What?
Frankie Louvu, Washington State Cougar alumnus, leading that linebacking core coming off the edge.
Give it off the BALLBAG. All right. But Bryce Young being the biggest highlight with the first round pick there. So I don't hate them. I think it's like the way I'm looking at it is, hey, we've got all these new pieces. Miles Sanders. You still have Chuba Hubbard there, which is nice. But it's like, to me, it feels like the Panthers are in this position to go, let's just try some stuff, see what happens. And I think that goes.
And yet you have that being better than Tampa.
Yeah, because they've tried some stuff and like look where they're at. I think that's more exciting. I think they do better than the Bucs this year. I think people are not. I just feel like there's a lack of a lot of things down in Tampa versus Carolina, where a lot of this is fresh. And I feel like when you have a fresh perspective, a fresh approach, fresh players, I think you have a little more excitement to be there, to be honest with you.
Well, there's certainly not a lot of freshness in Carolina. There's a lot
Subway,
of
eat fresh, Carolina Panthers. Yeah. Let's do this.
I'm sure Bryce Young will be in 1 or 2 Subway commercials this year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. Actually,
there was only a couple of things that you didn't touch on that I got listed here. You failed to mention their biggest free agent signing, which was kind of surprising to me. Andy Dalton is on the Panthers, folks.
Okay,
that is right. You better put some respect on his name. But Bryce Young's got some competition. Not really, but come on. It's nice to have a veteran backup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, Bryce Young's an incredibly talented young man. We got to see him play in person. The question is if they can protect him. Okay. I don't know if they can. There's some really good defensive lines in this division, right? Let alone in the National Football League. I think the young man's going to be running for his life. And for a quarterback his size, that scares me, right?
How was he? 5'9", 5'10", somewhere in there?
Yeah, like a $115. I don't know. He's not very big. He's a very small guy. Everybody's seen the video of him in OTAs when he was behind the offensive line and he disappeared because the offensive line was all like 6'5" to 6'8", and he's just kind of trying to peek around them and see where everybody is. I also have, Miles Sanders, Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst. I had all them on my list.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got some weapons, but I don't see like an it guy. I don't see okay,
no superstar.
I can rely on that guy. You know what I mean? Like a go-to guy. One-on-one coverage, he's going to come down with it for me. He can bail me out. I don't see that with the Panthers. So I think Bryce is going to have his growing pains. I think it's going to have a rough year for them again. Rookie spotlight, obviously Bryce Young. Everybody knows, right? It's like the Falcons. Duh, run Bijan, run. But got another name guy. Got another fun name guy here in Carolina. Out of the University of Arkansas, linebacker Bumper Pool is on the Panthers now. Bumper Pool. I like that. That's a fun name. Bumper Pool.
How about Shy Tuttle?
Shy Tuttle, not a bad one, but I just Bumper Pool. I mean, come on.
No, you're right.
It's no Servassier Dennis, but it's still pretty good. You know what I mean? I couldn't when I saw Servassier as a first name. What a creative family! That's incredible. I love names like that. Last year, the Panthers were one of 3 teams in this division that finished 7-10. ESPN. What did you have them finishing, Pete? What did you have the Panthers finishing?
I have them with just over the Bucs with one more win, so closer to about that 7 to 8 win.
So you're at 8 and 9.
I
8 and 9.
I think 7 and 10, but I'll say 8.
So you think they're gonna?
I'll say 8 and 9 for positivity. I'm thinking 7 and 10 though.
Well, let's just say you're a lot higher than ESPN. They're only favored in 4 games this year. So
4?
But 4 games they're favored in. Bucs are favored in 1. I think that they're on par with the Bucs record-wise. I think it's 3-14, 4-13 again. Both these teams fighting for the last place in the division. It's probably going to come down to who beats the other one. But listen, you got a rookie quarterback, and there's not enough to put on. There's not enough focus put on that, I think. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, Bryce Young is incredibly talented. He's going to be good. When's the last time a rookie quarterback started day one in the NFL and lit it up? The answer is I don't know, because it doesn't happen. Most rookie quarterbacks struggle. The only rookie quarterback I can think of that started day one and had a pretty darn successful season, it was two of them. They happened the same year, and that was Robert Griffin III and Russell Wilson, when they both led their teams to the playoffs and actually played against each other. Unfortunately for RG3, he blew his knee out in that game and was never the same. Russell went on to win a Super Bowl and then decided he wanted to make TikToks. But the point is... we're built different. The point is,
yeah,
Mr. Unlimited. God, what
Just
a
get away from your
ridiculous.
phone, man. His PR guy needs to be fired.
Yeah, he needs another. He needs like 4 or 5 more people.
Still hiring is what it should be at this point.
Anyway, but I don't love the Panthers this year. I like Bryce Young as a young man. I think he's a talented athlete. His size scares the crap out of me. His quarterbacks that size, sometimes they're really good, sometimes they get their butts kicked. Russell Wilson, he's been really good. He's had problems. Kyler Murray, he's been really good. He's also had a lot of problems. Will Bryce Young, will we get the really good, or will we have injury concerns, or we don't know.
We won't know.
So that uncertainty leads me to bet on the under. So that's why I've got them 3 or 4 wins this year. Yeah. Last team in this division, and
they also lost Deonta Foreman too, which is a big loss.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is they replaced him with Miles Sanders, but I mean, obviously losing Christian McCaffrey was not bigger physically, but a bigger deal to their team than Deonta Foreman. But yeah, they got a lot of rebuilding to do still.
Yeah.
Next team on our list, heading down to Nolans. Gonna go get some beignets. You ever had beignets?
I don't know, man. Maybe.
Powdered,
not guaranteed.
Fried dough, powdered sugar. Oh, that's good stuff. Oh, baby. New Orleans Saints. Last year, they finished 7-10. That's right. You might have noticed a trend in the NFC South. Key additions. Big play Derek Carr, the comeback king. We touched base on it. It's an improvement. I hate to say this. It's an improvement over Andy Dalton. It's an improvement over Jameis Winston, but not by a lot, in my opinion, because Jameis makes some big-time plays. I think Derek Carr is a more grounded and solid quarterback. Like, he's consistent. He makes mistakes consistently, but he also makes up for them consistently. So I think that's going to be interesting. Jamal Williams, I think, is a huge pickup for them. He's your favorite running back in the league.
Love me some Jamal Williams.
Yes, the Hokage himself, Jamal Williams. He's a great personality, by the way. Just as a person, seems like a really dope person. But considering that, availability is kind of up in the air with Alvin Kamara.
Do you know the details of his situation? I know he's got some legal troubles.
It actually recently they pled it down right to a misdemeanor. He's going to get probation, and pay a fine. So I don't believe he'll be in prison. I don't believe he'll see any jail time. But the NFL has not made any determinations or rulings on whether or not it will affect his availability. So
interesting. Okay.
There hasn't been any determination by the NFL. Even if he gets found innocent in the court of law, the NFL could be like, "Hey, conduct detrimental to the league. Here's 6 games." That we don't know. Right? Him and some buddies got in a fight in Las Vegas, and I don't know all of the details surrounding that, but I do know it's not a very good look, and I think it's pretty dumb for guys who are in great positions like that to put themselves in the position to be exposed to stuff like that. Alvin Kamara, excellent player. I usually draft him if he's available. But this year, I'm hesitant. Something that we haven't touched on with the Saints, they signed 4 wide receivers in free agency, led by Kiki QT. They're not big name receivers, but they're receivers. They're receivers that are like, position player guys, just guys that'll fit in and get you a couple catches here and there. I think this is important because Michael Thomas is often injured, right? They got Olave down there. They've got good young receivers if they're healthy. It's important that they have these like filler guys in there to support. But bringing in 4 is a lot in free agency alone.
Yeah.
For a wide receiver room. So if you think about it, they got a new starting quarterback, potentially a new starting running back, 4 wide receivers. They pretty much rebuilt that offense, right? Then on the defensive side, they've added a whole bunch of pieces, including they pretty much revamped their entire secondary. Tyrann Mathieu comes over, Ugo Amadi comes over, and Jonathan Abram comes over. So they have so much turnover in free agency. They made so many moves in free agency. I don't know if their moves will be as impactful as Atlanta's. I think they made more moves overall, but I think Atlanta made more impactful moves, if I had to put a word to it.
Okay.
But one of the things they did, my rookie spotlight for the Saints, they went out and got a wide receiver in the draft that a lot of people are really high on out of Wake Forest. A.T. Perry, 6'5" wide receiver, big, strong, physical young man. And they drafted a quarterback in Jake Haener out of Fresno State. And you want to talk about somebody who's got that dog in him? Jake Haener's got that dog in him. Saw him play against UCLA with like a broken shoulder and will his team to victory. It was incredible. I'm just going to keep an eye on that young man. I don't know if their quarterback room's full right now. I don't know if he'll even make the team, but I'm rooting for him. Yeah, I'm rooting for Jake Haener. I like that young man. Last year they went 7-10. They're favored in, and this is ESPN, they're favored in 11 games this year. ESPN thinks that the Saints are winning this division outright and by a couple of games. I am actually betting the under on this. I think Derek Carr's going to throw them out of a couple games. He tends to do that from time to time.
But he also leads
He will also win them some.
So
but
I'm just
he's
saying,
going to throw them out of some games. I've got him at either 9-8 or 10-7. You may have noticed a pattern. That's the same record as the Falcons. I think their head-to-head is going to decide that. I think the Saints have a very good defense. They usually do. And I think that the additions they made on the back end are definitely going to help them in pass coverage. The key is going to be if they can stop the Falcons' run game when they play them, which they usually have a pretty good defensive front. So Cameron Jordan and those boys. So I think the Saints are the favorite in the division. I got the Falcons winning this division. I'm on the Nick Tana train. I think that their ability to run the football is going to be the difference, but it's going to be close. I think it's like a 1-game difference between the Saints and the Falcons. It's going to be hardcore. It's going to be angry. We're going to see, riots in the streets if they lose to the Saints. We both live in Atlanta, of course, and it's but it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch. I think Atlanta wins the division. Saints right there, maybe get a wild card. What do you think?
Yep, I have the Saints and the Falcons as my top 2, the Bucks and the Panthers as the bottom 2. I have the Bucks, the Panthers, and then it was a toss-up between the Saints and the Falcons. I did have the Saints taking the edge, and this is just purely because of the quarterback situation.
Wow.
Isn't it crazy that you're like, Derek Carr is the best quarterback in the division?
Is he?
Isn't he? Isn't he, though? Just in terms of experience.
Right now, I would say yes.
Okay.
Although, but you gotta look over there. You gotta look over there in Carolina and say Andy Dalton is on that team. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Andy Dalton's on a team.
I'm just kidding.
But
I'm kidding. By the way, that's a joke. That's a joke.
Assuming all goes well for Kamara and Jamal Williams, I like those two guys a lot. Jamal Williams was the touchdown leader last year, so this is nothing but a positive for them. You had mentioned that there's a lot of additional receivers in that room. They still have Cameron Jordan. They still have Tyrann Mathieu. I think their defense is decent. They still have Lattimore over there. I think the defense is still decent. I think as far as like balance from end to end, because of they have the best quarterback in the division. I do see New Orleans taking the edge unless Ritter just blows it out of the water.
On a serious note, I think the best competition for Derek Carr as being quote unquote the best quarterback in the division is a guy that's probably not a starter, but I'm not talking about Andy. I'm talking about Taylor Heineke. I think that Taylor Heineke has shown flashes for the Commanders where he was very good, like very, very good. And if he gets consistent protection and you put him in a system where it's run heavy and he's got great weapons on the outside, which is the Falcons' system, I mean, I think Taylor Heineke legitimately could put up better numbers if given a whole season. But they're all in on Ritter.
The whole season?
No, because they're all in on Ritter. They want to see what they have. I'm just high on Taylor Heineke. I think that's a little biased because I think I'm high on him. But I didn't. Nick mentioned Ritter was getting better and better. I didn't see it. We watched a couple Falcons games with Ritter, and I was just like, I don't see it. Now maybe he makes a jump, having a full off season, full NFL training program, more and more repetitions, more and more experience. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he figures it out. He certainly has the weapons, right? They've certainly put a team around him that should be able to score points on a regular basis. But yeah, like give me the Falcons. You're on the Saints.
I'll say this: I'm the most excited to watch the Falcons. I think the Saints is like a safer choice, but I think the Falcons are a more exciting team as of now to watch. I think it's going to be. I think they just have like a lot more potential with the Saints. I'm just like, yeah, I've seen everyone play. They have Derek Carr. Well, we've seen Derek Carr play a ton. With the Falcons, I just feel like it's gonna be more exciting games to watch. It's gonna be more standing up, enjoy, throwing your popcorn all over the living room type situation versus the Saints. Where you're like, we should have won and we won, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, a good analogy might be, the Falcons are potential energy, right? They're that boulder at the top of the hill that's just barely held in place, and if the right thing happens, that ball gets rolling and nobody's stopping it. Whereas the Saints are that steady moving, we're moving forward, we're steady Eddie, we're going the speed limit. We're not running anything over. The Falcons, they could, the training wheels could come off and they could blow through everybody, or more likely than not, they have hiccups and they're up and down and they're up and down.
Yeah, but they're still getting used to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be dependent on Ritter. If Ritter's the guy, if he's the guy they hope he is, this is a springboard season for the Falcons. Meaning, they win the division this year, they add a couple pieces here and there, and next year they're a Super Bowl contender. If they don't have the QB in Ritter, then I think, and I hate to say this, but I see a lot of similarities in this. I think Taylor Heineke becomes their stopgap guy, and they fall into a Minnesota Vikings level. Kirk Cousins is your quarterback, great weapons, but we'll make the playoffs. We'll make the playoffs, but I don't know if we're going to win a Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
I'll say this safely: none of these teams are winning the Super Bowl.
Wow, the disrespect.
No, it's just what it is. They know it. I know it. You know it. Everyone knows it.
I think none of these teams have a quarterback that could get them to the Super Bowl. I think the Falcons have the best chance because of the way that they play. I think if you're going to have a quarterback that isn't, it's style of play, right? There's two things that travel in the National Football League. And when I say travel, I mean you can go on the road and still win. That's defense and a running game, right? The third thing would be like a all-pro quarterback, right? Because they can do whatever they need to do. But if you have a defense and a running game, you can compete in any game on any field against any team in the National Football League. right? We saw that with the Titans, right? They Ryan Tannehill, Marcus Mariota, didn't matter who the QB was. Give the rock to Derrick Henry. Let's play physical defense. And they went to the AFC Championship game like 2-3 times in a row. They might not win a Super Bowl, but they can get there. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm thinking about the NFC South. It's going to be more interesting this year than it was last year. I think there's not going to be all those teams squished into that mediocrity of 7-10 or 8-9. I think the Saints and the Falcons are going to separate themselves from the pack. And I think that the Bucs and the Panthers are going to fall back a little bit. I think the team in the worst position right now is the Bucs, though.
Yeah. I don't want to say that there's like a clear cut front runner, but the top two teams, in my opinion, are the top two teams. That's Falcons and the Saints for this division. Yeah,
it's exciting for the rivalry. Those two teams do not like each other.
Those are always fun games to watch. Always fun games to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be wild times. I have an employee that's a big Saints fan. We live in Atlanta. There's times, you get people coming in with Atlanta Falcons stuff on, and they start getting into it. And I have to go out there and calm them down,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's exciting time. Football season's coming, guys. It's 8 weeks away.
Yeah, I'm getting itchy.
You got to scratch that itch. We've already done 3 divisions, right? We only got what? Couple. I don't know if we'll have enough time to do all the divisions in the weeks we have left.
We might have to do a double episode or record a couple
episodes.
Yeah.
You might have a couple weeks of 2 episodes, guys. So be ready for that. Couple of news and notes because we kind of went right into it at the start.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a nice little signing today by the NFL. The New York Football Jets have reached an agreement with star defensive tackle Quinnen Williams, 4 years, $96 million.
That's that'll get you some Chick-fil-A.
It's the largest guaranteed money in franchise history. $66 million guaranteed.
Dude, that's crazy.
For a defensive tackle. It makes him the second highest paid defensive tackle in the league behind Jeffrey Simmons. Or no, he surpasses Jeffrey Simmons for the number 2 spot. He's just behind Aaron Donald.
Congrats to him.
Yeah, big time for him. Also, you had mentioned some NFL rule changes to me.
Yeah, I was looking at rule changes. Not something I look at too often. I just saw like a short video on it, and you had explained a little to me about something that potentially could affect the way teams run. What am I thinking of? Can't I think of the phrase?
The read option.
Read option.
Yeah.
And that's a penalty for handing the ball off forward. So if the player, as I understand it, if the player runs in front of you and you're handing the ball off, it's considered what they're calling like an illegal pass now, for a 5-yard penalty and repeated downs.
Yeah, it's certainly going to take a lot of different types of plays or formations out of the game in the NFL. I'm intrigued to see, one, how it plays, like how often it gets called. Is it a point of emphasis by the officials this year? And 2, is it going to get adopted in college? Because if it doesn't get adopted in college and it's just an NFL rule, we might see Nick Saban in the NFL next week because he'll be like, finally, I don't have to defend against that crap. But, Chip Kelly's sitting there going, thank God I got out when I did, because he loves running that. So it's kind of a catch-22. I don't really understand why it's being removed, except potentially to try and maintain competitive balance. Right now, the NFL rules and penalties are so weighted to the offense that it's kind of ridiculous. The defensive side of the football feels like it can't keep up oftentimes. You see shootouts in games. Look at the Super Bowl this year. You look at the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl, it's the Eagles and the Chiefs, the 2 two of the highest scoring teams in the league. They're just throwing points at people, right? So you can't make contact with the receivers downfield. You can barely touch a quarterback if you're trying to disrupt a pass. There's all these different penalties and rules. You can't hit a guy high. You can't hit a guy low. You can't lower your helmet. There's just all these different safety rules that have been put into place that have negatively impacted the ability of the defense to deter the offense from running certain plays. I honestly think that the basis for this rule change is trying to give the defense some leverage back and make it so the defense can play better. I don't think it removes the read option entirely, because if I read the rule correctly, it's only a penalty if the read or the handoff happens in front of the quarterback, meaning if the quarterback is facing the line of scrimmage. But if the quarterback is facing the side, if he's perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, then he's handing off to his side, not in front of him. So theoretically, you could still run a veer or an outside read and it not be an issue. I think it's what's going to be impacted is the ride, right? So oftentimes you'd see these quarterbacks who run the read option and they're holding the ball. Both them and the running back are holding the ball in the running back's stomach for like 1-2 seconds. Like they're moving like multiple steps, and then all of a sudden the quarterback will pull the ball out, right? Or the running back will take the ball and go, and the defense is just sitting there like frozen, trying to figure out who they're supposed to go after. And I think that's another thing that they're trying to get rid of, because watching that, especially in college, it's not fun to watch. You want a quick hitting play. So I don't know, that we'll see how it works out. It's going to be interesting to see how offenses adapt. But heck, they were thinking about outlawing the quarterback sneak, and so I don't know what they're going to do.
They better
next.
not. They absolutely better not do that.
They were thinking about it.
Well, stop it.
Because of how successful the Eagles were this year with it.
Stop it. Stop it. You know it's coming. Yeah. Do something about it.
That is why you go out and you pay a guy $90 million to sit over the nose of a center and stuff that play. That's why Quinnen Williams just got a big paycheck.
That play. Yeah, I agree. Well, so teams present rule changes, right? Like, so I don't know too much about rule changes, how they come to pass. I was looking at it a little bit, and this article I was reading, it was showing like different teams had presented rule changes or concerns to the NFL. So I didn't know that it was individual. I thought there was just some like board of rule people who came together and said, here's what we liked, here's what we didn't like, how we're going to improve the product. But it looked like teams that were actually submitting proposals or concerns to the NFL and said, hey, we don't like this, or we think you should look into this. I want to get more knowledgeable on rule changes. You know much about that? Or?
Well, so from my understanding, the NFL has a rules committee, right? It's comprised of former officials, NFL executives, coaches, different people that have been around the game of football at a high level for a long time. And my understanding is that each team in the offseason, they have owners meetings, right? And at these owners meetings, they vote on potential rule changes, right? And so what teams do is they submit the NFL Rules Committee and teams can submit recommendations for rule changes. Then they whittle them down to, okay, these are the ones we're considering. And then the owners vote on it. And depending on what it is, they say yay or nay. There's usually one or two a year, maybe more, but it's usually not a lot because they try it for a year.
Yeah.
And then usually they have to refine it. If you remember a couple years ago, they revised the kickoffs, right? Yep. They wanted to avoid injuries on kickoffs. They said that was part of their concussion protocol spectrum, where they had all those rule changes regarding
concussion protocol, hitting with the crown of the helmet, targeting, kickoffs, all that stuff as a result of the concussion studies that came out, and the Will Smith's movie obviously was a big part of that that he made. The NFL is generally a reactionary league when it comes to rule changes. They identify issues and then they either determine points of focus for their officiating crew. So all their officials get a new handbook every year with the rule changes in it, and then they have points of emphasis that they're assigned to look at. So last year, one of their biggest points of emphasis was quarterback safety, right?
Right.
And hits on the quarterback. That's one of the reasons there were so many flags on what a lot of people thought were
suspect tackles. Yeah,
there were a lot of people thought that was a normal play. Why was that a penalty?
I remember that sack on was it a sack on Brady that was considered that? I just remember the Bucs were involved on some major sack, and they're like they just wrapped up and fell. Like that was totally legal.
And they called a penalty. Yeah. And that's one of the things that was a point of emphasis. So generally what happens if there's a point of emphasis determined at the beginning of the season, it is drilled into the officials to be on the lookout for whatever that point of emphasis is and the stuff surrounding it. So it's drilled into their heads so much that eventually they go, they sometimes see it when it's not there, is what I've determined. Now, I'm just a fan. I'm not plugged into the rules committee. I don't know what they're going to do. But I have a feeling that this rule change, like I said, is directly related to competitive balance of the National Football League. Because think about it for a second. If you don't have a running quarterback, you can't run the read option. Right? So, if the read option becomes that effective, Lamar Jackson, this rule change is huge. If Lamar Jackson can't effectively run the read option, if Jalen Hurts,
it's Allen effectively, Hurts, Justin Fields,
Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, those three guys specifically, so much of their offense is, and their benefit as a quarterback, I would think, to their system is their ability to run the football, and the zone read is a huge part of that, which is why I think teams will find a way around this, but it's going to depend on how it's officiated, right? How strict are these guys going to be? I'm sure there'll be some follow-up as we get closer to the season. We'll certainly see
again, for sure.
We'll certainly see it in the preseason games. You'll know if you follow the preseason games, you'll see a couple of these penalties called if it goes into effect this year like we think it is. That this will be something that people are going to be like, what? Because it doesn't make much sense. That's not a pass. It's a handoff. Why is it called a legal forward pass? Well, definition of the rule now. So going to be interesting.
Yeah, and we'll cover that more when it gets closer, and if we see some of these calls, which I'm sure they'll happen in the preseason, we can kind of tackle.
When they call back a 45-yard Justin Fields touchdown run, that changes the outcome of your fantasy football game, you will know about this rule. And we will talk about it. Because mark my words, that will happen. That will happen at least once if this rule is in effect. At least once it will happen.
Well, that feels like a pretty good stopping point for episode 6 of the BALLBAG, our NFC South preview. We do want to thank YouLoveNickTana, YouLoveNickTana, for coming on and talking about the Falcons. Do you have any final thoughts, concerns, questions, sign-outs for the fans?
Saquon Barkley is in question whether he's going to be back for week 1. That just came across my news feed. Plan accordingly, folks.
Yeah.
Keep your eye on it. Fantasy season's coming. Your drafts are coming. Don't overthink it. Like my co-host, just have fun.
Whatever, dude. Run your
mock
mock
drafts. I get the 9th pick. He gets the 3rd pick. We'll figure that out, huh? How'd that happen, Commish? Top 3 pick again? Crazy.
There's video evidence you guys can witness. All right, that wraps up episode 6 of the BALLBAG podcast and our NFC South preview. Next week we will have either 1 or 2 episodes of some additional divisional previews for you guys, and we're getting close. I'm excited, man. I'm very, very excited for football season, and these podcasts honestly get me more excited. So every time we do one of these, I'm like, it's building my anticipation. I'm enjoying it.
Would you say you're excited then? Is that?
I'm gonna say yeah. I'll accept that. I'm excited, 100%. That's it for me.
Thursday, September 7th, week 1 of the regular season.
Be there or be square.
Hey, you guys, we're less than 3 weeks away. August 9th through the 15th. August 10th is the first preseason game. We're less than a month away.
My name is Peter, aka Nago Stories and All Things Social, and we have Tom. All right. Signing out. We'll catch you guys again.
Peace.